Explain generics in C Sharp. When and why to use them in real applications. This is a very important question from interview perspective and even from usage purpose in real application. Let's start with the definition. Generics allows us to make classes and methods type independent or type safe. Now what is type independent? Let's first see the code. See, this is the code. We have a calculator class which have a method r equal and it checks whether two integers are equal or not. If equal, then it will return true, and if not, then it will return false. Okay. Now inside the main method, when we will call this r equal method like this, since r equal is a static method, we can call it directly, right? Otherwise we have to create the object, the same thing. Okay. Now here we are comparing 4 with 4. It will work and execute properly without any problem. But then this second line where we are sending strings is interview and happy in parameters will not work because these are strings and our r equal method only accepts integer parameters. So this will not work. This is a problem, right? We need a method which can compare any type. So how to solve this problem? How to make a, so now you know what is type independent. Like this is type dependent, it is integer, it's a like type dependent. So now our generics will make this thing type independent. So let's see how to solve this problem and how to make this type independent. So now for that, one approach is replace this r equal method with a new method like this. Here we will accept object as the parameter in the r equal method. This will first convert integer or string to object and it will then compare the object values and then return true or false. This will work and solve our problem. But the problem with this is it involves boxing and unboxing, okay? Because it is converting value type to reference type, integer to object, that is value to reference. This will impact the performance. So this is not the best way. The other way is to create a separate r equal method which will accept a string parameter and compare strings, right? Basically to create overload of this method, which is again not the best approach because number of lines of code will increase. Okay, now this is our way and that is generics. Now let's see how the generics will make this type independent. So first to making, see the code here. First look at this r equal method and the alphabet T inside angular brackets and the parameter of type T. In this way, we have to make our r equal method as a generic method. Generic means now this method can accept any type. T is any type here. Okay, let me show you how it will accept any type. See the main method here. This commented is the old code. Okay, right? Now instead of calling method like this, we will call the generic method like with this type name inside the angular brackets after the method name. Here the type is int. Then when it will call the method, this will pass integer as type. And here the t which is type is accepted as integer. Now if you want to compare the to a string like other than integer like a string, then we will set the type as a string like this. Then the method will accept t as a string and then it will compare the strings. In this way, same method, same r equal will handle both integer and string comparison. I hope now you understand how generics will help you in creating methods which are type independent or type safe. Now remember, T is a type here. You can use any other alphabet also like other than T like XYZ. But T somehow relates to type. And mostly in application we use T only. So you should also use T only. Now we will see how to make the class the generic. Like this is method we make the generic. Now we will make the generic class. Okay. See the code here. Here instead of method, we will put t in angular brackets in front of class itself. And in method, we will only accept parameter as t. Now when you will call r equal from main method, we will call like this. This time again, we are putting the type in front of the class, not in the front of the methods. This will also do the same output, will also function the same way. Class will receive the string or integer type, then it will compare as per that. But there is one benefit of using generic with classes as comparison to methods, and that is if your class have multiple methods like this, then instead of putting type in front of every method, you should put at one place at the class level. Okay, so then it will be by default applicable to all the methods. So this will make your class a generic class, which is the better way, right? So normally in our projects also we make class generics, okay, not the methods. That is because one step better. So I hope now you understand what is generic, where we use the generics in our application, how generics are making the methods type independent, how generics are not using the boxing and unboxing, how they are improving the performance. So that's it about all about the generics. What are collections in C Sharp and what are their types? First, let me share you some points about collection. C Sharp collections are used to store, manage, and manipulate data. For example, when you get data from the database, like you get the list of employees, okay, then how you will manage that data, meaning where you will store them in your application, how you will do the sorting, filtering on this data. For that, we need collections. The ArrayList, dictionary are the examples of the collections. Now let me show you the type of the collections. Here are the categories of the collections. We have three categories of the collection in .NET: normal collections, concurrent collections, and generic collections. Remember, these are the categories. But if someone will ask you the type of the collection, then you have to say array list, hash table, dictionary, list, whatever you know from this list, you should share that. Now the first category is normal collection. These are the basic ones: array list, hash table, queue, and stack. Then we have concurrent collections. These are the thread safe collections in C Sharp, meaning if you are using multi-threading in your application, then these collections can be helpful to you. I will not go into the details of this collection, otherwise it will be a very long video. But then if you know normal collection, then here we have this third category, which is generic collections. They are nothing else like this list is the generic version of the array list. Dictionary is the generic version of hash table. So basically, if you know generic and collections, then this generic collection is very easy for you. What is the difference between array and array list? Let's see the differences with the help of code. Here is the code of array. An integer array is declared. Then the items numbers are set to 10. Then the first integer value has been assigned to array. Now here, if you will assign any value other than integer like this, then .NET framework will not accept that and show the compiler error. Okay. Similarly, here is the code of array list. An array list has been declared and then its instance has been created and then items are added inside it. Now here we can store items of different types like integers, strings, any type. Okay. The reason is array list converts this integer and string values to objects. Therefore, array list store objects only. And that is boxing, and we discussed boxing in previous video. So the first difference is array is strongly typed. This means that an array can store only one type of items elements. Like here we are storing the integer. Either integer, either string, only one type, no mixing. Whereas array list can store any type of elements. See here in the array list, here there is no type is mentioned and we can add integer and string, both values like this. Second difference is array can contain fixed number of items. See here we have to give the numbers of items in the array in advance. Here we have assigned 10. If we will not give this number, then it will give an error. On the other hand, array list can store any numbers of items. See, there is no count here. You can add any numbers of items in the array list. So these are the differences between the two. What is the difference between array list and hash table? See the code of array list. In array list, we can only add items or values to the list. See, both of these are values only. Now let's see hash table. In hash table, we can add items values with the keys. See, this is the key and this is its value. Hash table is like a mapping. So when you want to retrieve the values from a hash table collection, then you can directly use the keys to extract its value. This is the benefit of the hash table. So the differences are, in array list, we can only add items or values to the list. Whereas in hash table, we can add items values with the keys. What is the difference between list and dictionary collections? This is a good and important question. Let's see the code first. See, here we have a list of employees which have string type, and then we are adding employees name which are string only, right? After that, we are iterating the list via this for each loop. Okay, finally this is the output. Now we are getting two things out of list. First, list is a collection of items, okay, and second, it is the generic version of the array list. In array list, we also do the same, except we do not provide the type here. So now you know what is the difference between array list and list. Now let's explore dictionary. Here is the code, and here we are declaring the dictionary employees D. Then we are providing two types. One is integer and another is a string. So basically, this int is the type of the key and this string is the type of the value. And we are using dictionary add method to add the key and value pair in the dictionary collection. Then we are iterating this key value pair using the for each loop. And in the output key, the value will be printed in pairs. Okay, so again we have seen two things about dictionary. First is dictionary is a collection of key value pair. Okay, second, it is the generic version of the hash table. In hash table also we have the same key value pair. Okay, now I think you can tell the differences between array list, hash table and dictionary collections very easily. What is IEnumerable in C#? In the code, here is a list of employee, okay? And in employee class, we have ID and name property. Now here we are adding new employees in the code list here, okay, in the list here, okay? Then we are running a for each loop to print the employees ID and names one by one. Now the loop is working for the employee list. This loop is working because how this loop is working? Because the list is derived from IEnumerable interface only. And IEnumerable interface is used when we want to iterate among our collection classes using a for each loop. You might not use it directly, this IEnumerable, but all our collection classes like list which are able to use for each loop are internally using this IEnumerable interface. Like if I will right click on this list collection and go to the definition and see, list is derived from the IEnumerable, right? That's it. So internally all the collections are using IEnumerable interface. So then only we are able to iterate the collections through the for each loop. What is the difference between IEnumerable and IEnumerator in C#? Let's see the code first. You know list is using IEnumerable internally, right? And here we are assigning list to IEnumerable and then iterating, okay? And here is the output. Now you can do the same thing using IEnumerator also. See, here we call getEnumerator method and use moveNext method to iterate through the results. And it will give exactly the same output which IEnumerable was giving. But the difference is IEnumerable code looks simple to implement, right? So basically, IEnumerable internally uses IEnumerator only to iterate the collection via for each loop. But we use IEnumerable because IEnumerable simplifies the use of IEnumerator. See, list is inherited from IEnumerable and IEnumerable uses IEnumerator interface. And if you right click on IEnumerable and go to the definition, then see, here you will find the getEnumerator method which is returning the type of the IEnumerator. That's it. Now here is a very important question. What is the difference between IEnumerable and iQueryable in C#? Why to use iQueryable for SQL queries? We already know what is IEnumerable, right? Now we will more focus on iQueryable. First, remember this point about iQueryable. iQueryable inherited from IEnumerable interface only. So anything you can do with IEnumerable, you can also do that with iQueryable also. For example, iterating the collection can be done by both IEnumerable and iQueryable. When you right click and see the definition of iQueryable, you will find this. See, iQueryable is inherited from IEnumerable. So whatever IEnumerable can do, iQueryable can also do. In addition, iQueryable can perform some extra tasks related to SQL queries that I will shortly explain. Okay. Now see the code here. Here we have a list which we are iterating using IEnumerable, and here is the output. Now we can use iQueryable also to iterate the same list and we will get the same result. Now the point is, why we need iQueryable when IEnumerable is already there? The reason is IEnumerable is used with and it is preferred with in-memory collections like array, array list. All these are in-memory collections, in-memory objects also you can say. Whereas iQueryable is better in getting results from database. So suppose you want to get records from database through LINQ. Okay, for that first you will you will use IEnumerable like this. Do not worry about the LINQ and lambda expression here, that I will explain in other videos. But you are understanding this, right? Here we are getting the records from the employees table where the employee's name start with H, right? And you will get the filtered result in this list E. Okay. Now the same result you can get by using iQueryable interface also. See the same query and you will get the same result in list Q this time. But the point is, iQueryable will take less time as comparison to IEnumerable. Now let me explain this why. If you use IEnumerable, then first the request will go to the database and bring the whole data from the database. And then the filter the result at the server side here. So bringing the whole data from the network will impact the performance in a negative way, right? Because the data is too much. Okay. On the other hand, if you use iQueryable, then the request will go to the database, filter the data then and there only, and then send back the filtered data, not the whole data, which is good for performance because data is lesser, the filtered data is lesser. So that is the reason iQueryable is better than IEnumerable for SQL queries and database operation. All the points I have explained, I have said are written here only so that later anyone can refer this PowerPoint and for the revision purpose. One more point, iQueryable is under system.linq namespace, whereas IEnumerable is under system.collections namespace. That is all about IEnumerable and iQueryable.